munene kigwayo munene Man City ndi Man City ye munene Arsenal bwe yajjeko tampeko
ekyenso kyokka kiri tugezana nga nti ne
dokita wa Arsenal kimanyiddwa Dr. Seredo wa Arsenal kimanyiddwa wa Arsenal
mfudde
wa Arsenal dokita tukulamusiza naye wa Arsenal it's a known fact mwagizo wa Arsenal nnyo
kakitalo
nnyo dokita tosobola mujja ku Arsenal
kitalo nnyo bannaffe
ate
kitalo nnyo Dr.
Elia Banda Innocent omumanyi
Elia Banda Innocent
munnamawulire one of the senior journalists we have in this country
yes naye wa Arsenal
wa Arsenal akugambye bwati agambye ne tampeko gimwogerako erina omugaso bozaffe abagula ebintu ebyenjawulo mu butale ku makubo ne ku batembeyi omuli n'ensende ne kawoomera tampeko minzaani etaliko na kutega
minzaani
kati gwajerega tampeko akunyonyodde tonyuma tampeko
ebagitega kyotegeeza ng'obusene n'obusooka waggulu bayimiriza buyimiriza buddamu ne bwebakako bwebasi banne nimuunya Arsenal erina abantu abali serious bwe batyo nga bagiwagira I'm surprised
semanyi
do they know what they support
then
is there
then muganga ndozolo yabasembayo muganga Taufik agambye kungu that's one of the most recognized trophies in England and it is a shield twashonyiza abantu wadda ninaalo ka message ka honorable Balyeku
aluwa ayogereki ayogere kira yakimanyi at least ye butafana balatasoka kwegana is an honest man bano bali mu kwegana kwekubya yaka they know the problem
okay
you understand
kale well so Simon we are expecting a very let me say I don't know whether candid or insightful press conference olunaku olwaleero nga Dr. Kizza Besigye four-time presidential candidate ng'ayogerako eri eggwanga ku bigenda mu maaso mu kibiina kyalimu ekya Forum for Democratic Change era abamawulire batuyise wali ku ofisi ye e Katonga probably nga tujja kuba tukutuusaako ebirala bivudde eyo but tukimanyi mu FDC for the past 2 weeks wabaddeyo okusika omuguwa obutakkaanya and we are seeing what seems to be a semblance of two factions wakati w'abakulembera ekibiina kya FDC kati Nathan Nandala Mafabi Ssabawandiisi Patrick Oboy Amriat president w'ekibiina n'abamu ku bammemba b'ekibiina nga basika omuguwa ne kampu endala erimu Dr. Kizza Besigye Elias Lukwago Ssemujju Ibrahim Nganda n'abalala akati accusation ziri ku sente buli omu accusinga munne wafuna sente tewafuna gwe wabeera president w'ekibiina sente nga wazifuna nga tetwakuguza nga zaavaawa najja nankumbi enenya Dr. Kizza Besigye okuteekawo another center of power e Katonga otabanya ekibiina n'ebirala so twalaba akakiiko akateekebwawo akaliko Dr. Frank Nabwiso baavaayo na reporter which generally was interpreted to be agreeing with the Najja Nankumbi faction era omu kubali mu faction ye Katonga mukyala Doreen Nyanjura yavaayo n'ekiwandiiko nga castigatinga report eno era it is expected that olunaku olwaleero Dr. Kizza Besigye will perhaps agree with what Doreen said.
I say single S. I say banne.
Let's first watch what happened the other day. Mulukungana olwalimu Dr. Besigye, Elias Lukwago, Doreen Nyanjura, Ssemujju Nganda kubigenda maaso wali Najja Nankumbi. Let's watch this presser.
Mu Kampala nga luno okusinga lwetabibwamu abakyama akakiiko aka National Executive Council Ssemujju Nganda yesambye okulonda okulijja maiso mu kibiina okwategekebwa abakulembera ekibiina kino yategeeza ng'ebayizemu ku ngaba ne FDC okwetoola iganga obutakwetabaamu
Nandala ne Amuriat kye bayita okulonda nti waliwo okulonda ku FDC okugenda maaso mu Uganda teriyo kulonda era tumanyi bulungi beesibira mu buyumba walala bakuba simu ne bawandiika abantu bo be bayitamba bakulembeze beefudisa abalondeddwa.
Bano bakuba nti akakiiko akakulembera ekibiina kino kaali kaatyamayira kayikirizaganya nti okulonda kuno okusooke kwemerezebwe okutuusa nga bamaze obumulumu lw'obubalimu obula beewuunya bannayibwe okulemeraku.
Nabaayo nakulonda kubanga akakiiko ak'oku ntiko aka FDC akayitibwa National Executive Committee bwe kaatuula ng'ennaku z'omwezi 16 kayimiriza okulonda okutuusa nga ensonga ezitawanya FDC omuli ne ssente Nandala ne Amuriat ze baleeta billions ne bazireeta mu kibiina wakati mu kulonda kwa 2022-2021. National Executive Committee yayimiriza okulonda era chairman w'ekibiina ambassador Wasabirigwa naye neyegatta ku National Executive Committee era kwalinga member ng'awandiika ebbaluwa ennaku z'omwezi nga 4 July.
Erias Lukwago ono nga n'amyuka akulira ekibiina kya FDC mu Buganda akuba nti bwe bali kwenda akakiiko ka FDC ak'ebyokulonda akakulemberwa Boniface Oterebuka Bamwenda katoolebwewo balonda akakiiko akayaaka.
Oterebuka Bamwenda Commission is not in charge. It is Nandala actually who is in charge of the elections. And this is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And it's the reason we have said, look, as I conclude, you can't be the person in charge of elections. You can't be the person who knows the funds, the source of the funds, how the funds are disbursed, how you move around running your own budget.
Mu ngeri ey'endawulo amyuka ssentebe w'ekibiina kino Muyiganga Salaamu Musumba era ng'ono essaasireegeire naye yayamba ebyava mu alipoota eyakolebwa akakiiko kano olw'omukenkufu Dr. Frank Nabwiso eri abannamawulire. Najjana Nkumbi yeena olwaleero yeegeese ku kiwayi kino era ng'ali kuva mu muliro mwereere.
Tuliko basaba nti tukozese obukulembeze bwona obuliwo nga tulongoosa okulonda kuno. Kuba okulonda n'okulaga amaanyi gaimwe, okulonda n'okulaga entegeka ye munaleeta mu nsi. Entegeka eno nfu ino, entegeka eno twagiroba mu NEC. Entegeka eno twasuubira nti bannayiffe bakulembeze bannayiffe baida kumanya nti ffe bakulembeze bannayibwe tuli kwenda okuzimba ekibiina ekyeyagaza.
Embeera mu kibiina kino ekali yakusika bitogi nakwegereza bisongovu wabula nga kuba akakiiko k'ebyokulonda w'ennaku olw'eigulo kaaviirewo kaalaalika ebibiina eby'obufuzi ku nteekateeka yaako y'okulondesa mu kalulu akaira kakuuma ka 2026 ky'oyinza okubala nti kasigayize ebbanga itono ekibiina okwetereza ekimala. Muhammad Mukalu n'atusakira ewulye lino kuluwaba.
Okay, kale abo be bamu ku bakulembeze mu FDC baali e Katonga, that was I think last week, nga boogerako ku bigenda maaso mu kibiina kyabwe balowooza nti the Nandala power faction are not doing right. So this morning retired Colonel Kizza Besigye agenda kwogerako eri eggwanga. We are not sure what he's going to say, but we can anticipate that given the fact nti omu ku bantu abali mu kampi ye mukyala Nyanjula yavaayo n'ekiwandiiko namutaayiika ng'arabishinga findings eza Nabwiso Commission. It's likely that Dr. Besigye could repeat the same. Well, Sir Simon, here we are. You saw the report. I know you read it. The Katonga group, primarily, for now, one can say.
Why do you call the Katonga group? That's how you begin spoiling our theory. There's nothing called the Katonga group.
No.
No, this is FDC.
No.
What do you call
what
the
is
Katonga
Katonga
group?
to FDC?
Katonga and FDC are not related.
No.
Katonga is a private office of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Private office.
Doing what?
His work.
Which work?
Besigye is a businessman.
No.
He meets people
But we
there.
see press conferences being held at Katonga to discuss FDC. And you see, that's the problem. We need to accept the reality that there is a problem in FDC. And the problem primarily being Dr. Besigye, according to... Please.
What have you said?
The problem...
Can you listen to yourself?
Let me finish my statement.
Yes, what are you saying?
Primarily...
That statement is abominable. You cannot say it in
Now,
Uganda.
what have I said?
What had you tried to say?
What have I said?
Okay, what are you saying?
You know, what I was saying, Sir Simon, is that we need to face the reality that we have a problem with Chibinacha FDC. And primarily, the problem, according to the current leadership of the party, partly is Dr. Kizza Besigye starting what they call a parallel office at Katonga. There is a group of members, some of them leaders of FDC, who pay allegiance to Katonga, where Dr. Besigye sits. And Bogamanti, a personal office, which could be true. But we see Dr. Besigye and other members of the party holding press conferences, meetings, discussing FDC.
Your daughter is Rahuma.
Yes.
She goes to school.
Yes.
She returns home. She does her homework from home. Is your home a school?
Now, that's a different
It's
thing.
what it is. Rahuma extends her school. Oluva kusomero nakola homework ewo mu nyumba yo. Does your home become the school?
Of course not. But did you read the report?
I read the report, and the unfortunate part of it in the report is that
Were you disappointed by this report?
absolutely, and disappointed only for my mentor, that Dr. Frank Nabuiso, a man with a clean political record, bamwambaza ekintu kyataategeera, simply to kill his leaders.
What was wrong in that report?
The report seems to have been too honest in an abnormal situation. It was a very honest report, very thorough, but in an abnormal situation. That while sitting is okay, you may not sit anywhere. So Dr. Nabuiso yayambazibwa ekintu kyatamanyi nti two giants were settling their scores, and the creation of this committee or commission, whatever it was simply either the climax of it or a dress-up of what the other two were addressing. And I want to say he did his part, but solved nothing. You understand? The Nabuiso report has solved nothing. I think because it was preempted by those who do not agree with the Nandala and the poor administration. So the way they started speaking about it, even before it came out, they watered it down before it came out, showed that first the report had leaked. Number two, the report was devoid of trust from both parties. Nevertheless, it is idiotic, highest level of idiocy. I want to repeat that. It is idiotic or idiocy at its highest that anybody wants to blame Dr. Besigye for the mess in FDC. Instead, the world must be thanking Dr. Besigye for raising the red flag, because this exactly is what he has stood for. This is what he has fought for. This is what he has preached. So I look at Dr. Besigye as a fair leader, that in fighting corruption, you don't fight it with two faces. that if it is Adam, then corruption is okay. If it is not Adam, then corruption is bad. Dr. Bessie is simply demonstrating that corruption and state capture, like he says, and I want to agree, corruption is bad no matter who is involved. It is bad to be corrupt, whether as a political party or as a government. That's number one, and I salute him for that one. Number two, Dr. Besigye is exonerated after some years, especially on the statement he has made always that the state of Uganda has captured all organs, including individuals within government ranks and within the opposition ranks. It is a state capture.
Okay.
Government of Uganda now, Yamwa Museveni is Sechiriba Chataka. Mpawa buli omu akyambadde. Woloza nti ali mu government okyambadde. Ali mu civil service akyambadde. Ali ebweru akyambadde.
Yes.
And he's simply saying two things.
Two things. One,
do we accept to remain captured? Two, do we liberate ourselves from the capture? That should be the debate. The rest of what they are talking about is nonsense. We are captured. Do we accept that we are state captured? The answer is yes or no. But certainly, the right answer is that we are captured. Now, if we are captured,
second question.
The second question is, do we stay or do we maintain the status quo, or do we fight out or fight?
What you're doing as people on the opposition, do they communicate that you resist the state capture, or you want the state capture to continue, given the factionism that is happening, which you don't want to acknowledge, by the way?
The desire is to fight the state capture.
How?
But the potential is compromised.
By the way,
our capacity.
Did you say that there are no factions in FDC?
There are no factions.
Sure.
They're just disagreements. There are no factions.
How did
factions come like this? One would say, we are DP bloc, DP Uganda. For us, FDC remains one party, but with individuals in there having this.
We have the Nandala faction and the Dr. Besigye faction.
No.
I'm not creating. I have a report here. Let me read for you a report. Recommendations. First recommendation. Both Dr. Besigye and Honorable Mafabi have been friends and have worked together in FDC in the last 21 years. For the sake of the party, they should reconcile. They should reconcile and not allow to split it like it happened to Uganda's oldest parties, DP and UPC, the so-called Katonga and Najanankumbi groups. Leaders in FDC are acknowledging that there are groupings in the party. There is the Katonga group and the Najanankumbi group. These are leaders, elders in the party.
You have read English and say, leaders, Dr. Kiza Besigye and Nathan Nandala Mafabi. I did not hear you say Dr. Kiza Besigye as a leader of faction 1 and Nandala Mafabi as leader of faction 2 should reconcile. They are simply saying Dr. Kiza Besigye, the individuals should reconcile
there is a Katonga
to avoid splitting, meaning the statement is preventive in nature. Please reconcile to avoid the split, meaning the split is not yet, the factions are not yet. The statement, read the preventive tone in the statement, should reconcile to avoid splitting.
No. If the split was not there, then the word group shouldn't have existed. Because they are telling you we have two groups.
The groups are reported.
Yes.
You're reading it and said, to avoid splitting the party into the so-called. The reporting imports what? Osoma Lungereza. You're professional, you're an expert of language. To avoid the so-called Katonga Najana.
Don't you think
report the so-called
Don't
Katonga?
You think you just don't want to accept reality?
I don't want to be to be a fool like anyone else. No. I want to remain.
So what is Katonga in this case?
A private office where Dr. Besigye sits, but where other FDC leaders find comfort to conduct their business.
When was the last time Dr. Kizza Besigye went to FDC, his party, to address maybe journalists from there, maybe to do any other activity of the party? When was the last time you remember?
In this very report you have read, a fortnight ago, before the report was concluded, Dr. Besigye was at Najana Nkumbi with Nandla Mafabe in the same room to give their side.
No, so give that, because here yalinga agenze mu court oba mu kakiiko akateekeddwa okuwuliriza ensonga zaabwe. That's a different thing. No.
He had options. He would have called them at Katonga or said, I don't want to come there, let's meet in a neutral place. He went there, and Nandla went there. The two sat in the same room at the same time, and he interacted with the committee and gave their views. I don't want to create an impression that Dr. Besigye hates Najana Nkumbi, that Dr. Besigye is fighting Najana Nkumbi. If anything, there is more money in that Dr. Besigye invested in buying the building at Najana Nkumbi than anyone else. Dr. Besigye, his personal money, went into buying Najana.
What do you think Doctor is going to tell the public today?
Dr. Besigye is a highly intelligent person, very hard to predict. But all I know is that he's going to re-emphasize his
what Nyanjura said.
His dogma.
You said
state capture. State capture. State capture. Tulino kwerwa nako.
There's one statement I like about him, and I think he will say that again today. Uganda kuvanga tufuna independence, we are ruled by the gun.
That's it. Atera na ile yandize. Even if he had come to power himself, he will still rule us by the gun.
Why?
The fact that he accepts to be saluted as Colonel retired,
yes,
makes him permanently married to the gun. He is a product of the gun. He is a son of the gun. He is a husband of the gun. He is a wife of the gun. Even I believe that if Dr. Besigye passed away today, the state would accord him a state burial. And the last thing you'll hear will be a gun salute. So somebody else should lecture us about guns, not Dr. Besigye.
So muwedonga FDC musanye ona mu state has extended its hand also.
Naye wasomera wa. Tuweddewo nga ate ndi wano. Kati abaweddewo ate wano wandibaddewo.
The party.
Singa tuweddewo, nti tuweddewo wano mu ntebe wendi singa tewali muntu.
Not individuals, I'm talking about the party.
Ate, what do you mean by yokuggwawo? You have just played here people talking, FDC members, the party spokesperson.
Not kuggwawo in its
ekyokuggwawo kyerabire, never say it.
You think you can stand again?
The party can weaken.
Omwogezi w'ekibiina kyo Ssemujunganda the other day agambye ye okujjako Nandala ne Amriat nga bavudde nkukulembera FDC, then for him he will cease being a member or even a leader of FDC.
That's why we are calling for elections. Nange, I'm holding a position.
You're calling for elections? Who is calling for elections?
No, this
the Katonga faction is opposed to this.
Because these are not elections. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot be condemning Mr. Museveni for sham elections, weak elections, and democratic elections, poorly prepared elections, and you do the same that they call. Because me, I am a leader of FDC in Kaliro. I hear they sat and held elections to fill.
They held elections
to fill my positions.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes, they did.
But nobody even invited me for those elections.
So stop calling yourself a leader.
And there are no elections.
I am the
leader. I am the leader.
No, elections were there.
I'm the secretary for mobilization and publicity.
Faction ye Najana Nkumbi yateekateeka akalulu abakulembeze b'ekibiina.
Nkalagawa.
They got new leaders wansi.
The bedrock of an election is the voters register. Can they show you the voters register?
No, they don't have it.
So what elections were those? Without a voters register, you cannot have elections, not even in America. So without it, what election did they hold?
Was it a sham?
There was no election. Don't debate anything like an election.
Hatujje n'ebiri mu butale tovaawo tujja kutusaako enteekateeka awo byonna ebina bivudde mu press conference ya Dr. Kizza Besigye agenda okutuuza olunaku olwaleero. Ganga muka, good morning.
Enoni Baba TV obusoga bulayire.
Get yourself a Zuku TV decoder and satellite dish today at a low price of only 105,000 Ugandan shillings, and a Zuku decoder at only 60,000 Ugandan shillings, and enjoy your favorite